There was a children's party, and the children also were there. The merchant was a learned man, for his father had sent him to college, and he had passed his exam. His father had been at first only a cattle dealer, but always honest and industrious, so that he had made money, and his son, the merchant, had managed to increase his store. Clever as he was, he had also a heart, but there was less said of his heart than of his money. All descriptions of people visit at the merchant's house were born, as well as intellectual, and some who possess neither of these recommendations.
How are you? I'm fine.
Among them was a beautiful little girl who was terribly proud, but this had been taught her by the servants, not by her parents, who were fine and sensible people. Thank you. Her father was groom of the chambers business. Her father was groom of the chambers, which is a high office at court.
I am a child of court.
Now she might just as well have been a child of the cellar, for no one can help his birth. And then she told the other children that she was well born, and said that no one who was not well born could rise in the world. It was no use to read and be industrious, for if a person was not well born, he could never achieve anything.
And those with name and reason cannot be anything at all. We must put our akimbo and make the apple quite high so as to keep decent people to a great distance.
And then she stuck out her pretty little arms and made the elbows quite point to show how it was to be done. And her little arms were very pretty, for she was a sweet-looking child. But the little daughter of the merchant became very angry at this speech, for her father's name was Petersen, and she knew that the name ended in sen, and therefore she said as proudly as she could,
"But my dad can buy $100 worth of bonbon. Can you dare do that?"
Yes, and my dad
said the little daughter of the editor of the paper.
My dad can put your dad and everybody dad into the newspaper. All sorts of people are afraid of him. My mom says he can do as he like into the paper.
And the little maiden looked exceedingly proud, as if she had been a real princess who may be expected to look proud. Outside the door, which stood ajar, was a poor boy, peeping through the crack of the door. He was of such a lowly station that he hadn't been allowed even to enter the room. He had been turning the spit for the cook, and she had given him permission to stand behind the door and peep in at the well-dressed children, who were having such a merry time within, and for him that was a great deal.
Oh, if I could be one of them.
And then he heard what was said about names, which was quite enough to make him more unhappy. His parents at home.
Darling, 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 darling.
Which of the children whose prattle we have described could call this house his own? One would suppose it very easy to guess. No, it is not so very easy. The house belonged to the poor little boy who had stood on that night behind the door. He had really become something great, although his name ain't same, for it was told the three other children, the children of good birth, of money, and of intellectual.
This is what happened on that evening. Many years passed, and most of the children became grown-up persons. There stood a splendid house in the town, filled with all kinds of beautiful and valuable objects. Everybody wished to see it, and people even come in from the country round to be permitted to view the treasures in
Which of the children whose prattle we have described could call this house his own? One would suppose it very easy to guess. No, it is not so very easy. The house belonged to the poor little boy who had stood on that night behind the door. He had really become something great, although his name ain't same, for it was told same. There were respect and honor in the world, for they had been well provided for by birth and position, and they had no cause to reproach themselves with what they had thought and spoken on that evening long ago, for, after all, it was more children's prattle.